am I? For some, they answer that with maybe family, friends, or their community, or others might answer that with their work. I am a lawyer, or maybe a sports. I'm a football player, or a hobby. I'm a gamer. Still others wrongly put their identity, answer that question with their sexual desires. I am gay. Or maybe their gender confusion. I am trans. But do these substitutes actually describe who we are or something else? And I know, man, I get so much pushback saying, oh, you're such a meanie. You're quibbling over words. Have you heard that before? You say tomato, I say tomato. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. I am quibbling over words. You know why? Because words matter. Words create truth. Truth statements are made up of words. And last time I checked, Jesus is the living word. And he is the way, the truth, and the life. So am I quibbling over words? Yes, because I'm quibbling over Jesus and I'm quibbling over truth. Because how we all answer this question, it's not just related to sexuality. All of us answer this question, who am I? It's going to affect many things, including our thoughts, our choices, our relationships. How we answer this question, it's going to impact all these things, suggesting this very close relationship between essence and ethics. Who we are, our essence, impacts how we live. And actually, how we live is going to impact how we view ourselves rightly or wrongly. So if you have a flawed view of who you are, you're going to have a flawed personal ethic. And vice versa. If you have a flawed personal ethic, you're going to have a flawed view of who you are. Let's just say if a person says, I'm a partier, is that going to impact how he lives? Yes or no? Yes. If a person says, I am a lawyer, is that going to influence what she thinks about? She's going to think a lot about law. I'm a football player. Is that going to impact the choices he makes? He's going to choose to play, practice, watch football when he has time. I'm a gamer. Is that going to influence the relationship she builds? Most of her friends will be gamers. Our thoughts, our choices, our relationships, and more are affected by how we all answer this question, who am I? Personhood affects practice. Practice affects personhood. When I identified as a gay man years ago, that affected my thoughts, my choices, my relationships. All my friends were gay men. I lived in an apartment complex in Midtown Atlanta that was 90 to 95% gay men. The others were on their way. I worked out at a gay gym. I bought my groceries at what we nicknamed the gay Kroger. I bought my new sports car at a gay car dealership. My bookkeeper was gay. My housekeeper was gay. Everything and everyone around me affirmed what my flesh was saying. I am gay. Now, I know some of you have had this unfortunate experience, maybe with your loved one or a friend that identifies with the alphabet soup, and you've said what the Bible says, this is sin. What's usually their response, positive or negative? Negative. Sometimes like over the top negative, right? And then we're just, why? I'm just calling this sinful behavior. Why is it such a big deal? Here's why. How can someone comprehend that this is sinful behavior when they don't even view it as behavior? They view it as who I am. Let's just say we were to meet 25 years before my conversion. This is back before it was popular. There's a huge stigma back then. I didn't care who knew, and we were to meet. And you were to tell me what the Bible says. This is sin. I wouldn't hear you say, oh, got it, what I'm doing is sin. The desires that I have are sinful. No, I would hear you say wrongly that my whole person from head to toe is reprehensible to you and to God. See, as my good friend Dr. Rosaria Butterfield says, I couldn't hate my sin without hating myself. Now that I know Jesus, I can hate my sin without hating myself. And when we somehow find pastors, these false teachers, these wolves in the church that are encouraging people or saying it's okay, this is like a agree to disagree issue. You can say you're gay. It's the same thing as same-sex attracted. They're leading people away from Christ. Even look at the verb that we put before gay, being gay. Notice it's not doing gay or desiring gay, feeling gay. That would be more accurate. It's being. What does being refer to? My person, personhood. And so being gay now doesn't mean what I'm attracted to, what I desire, what I do. It now wrongly means who I am. And this whole conversation around sexuality, this subtle shift from what to who, meaning what I feel, what I do, to who I am, has created this radically distorted view of personhood. But honestly, I don't know of any other feeling, desire that we've made it who we are. Let's just say if you know someone, and a friend of yours, tomorrow is like, man, I am happy. Would we say, that is who you are? No. Unless they're a dwarf and hang out with 6 other dwarfs and Snow White, then maybe. No, that's what you feel now. Great. Let's go to the other side. Not I'm happy, but maybe I am depressed. If someone were to say that to you, should we ever say that is who you are? Like you need to embrace it. No. But you know what's so interesting? I often hear stories, individuals that were raised in the church, left the faith, and they identify with lesbian, gay, bisexual, etc. And they say this, I didn't choose this. Anyone know individuals who say that? And what's their conclusion? I didn't choose this, therefore, this is who I am. Is depression chosen? Then it must be, according to that bad logic, who you are. I also know individuals raised in the church, leave the faith, and they say this, I prayed for God to take it away. How many of you guys have friends who say that? And and God didn't take it away, and what's their conclusion? God made me this way. I know Christians, strong Christians, who struggle with anxiety, depression, and they pray for God to take it away. Now, can he? Absolutely. Does he always? No. So when he doesn't, then that must be that God just made them depressed. See how it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you chose something or not, whether you prayed for God to take that desire away and he doesn't, whether you've had a feeling for as long as you remember, that desire is not who you are. Let's take a behavior, sinful behavior. If you know someone who gossips, not in this room, of course, someone, gossips all the time. You're a gossiper. When we say that, does that mean that's who he is? No, what he does, so stop it. Or maybe an adulterer. Is that who he is or what he does? And yet, think about this, and yet when we use the term gay, for example, gay people, we then misunderstand it to be who a person is. So if it's not who we are, then what in the world is it? It's how we feel. That's so important. Sexuality is not who we are, but how we feel. Because when we make this error, it's a categorical fallacy. It's an error of categories. We're putting sexuality in the wrong box. We take sexuality from the box of our feelings and our desires, and we put it in the wrong box of identity, of personhood, of essence, of, as Dr. Mohler says, of ontology. And then when we do that, that's going to affect our thoughts, our choices, our relationships, our actions, our whole lives. The term heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, it turns our desires into personhood, experience into essence. Actually, listen, gay, straight, bi does not describe people. We might have these desires, same-sex desires, but a desire is not a person. But that's what the world is talking about. We worship our desires. We worship our experience. So experience reigns supreme, and everything else needs to bow down before it. So no longer are we Sola Scriptura. What we are today is Sola Experiencia, experience alone.